Replay now?
Yeah. Good morning, Uncle Charles. Could you tell him how old you are?
How old am I? I am almost 90. I'll be 90 next week.
Where did you live during the war?
I lived in Camden in Pembroke Road, right opposite Radnor Road School. Right opposite the gates of Radnor Road School.
What was your occupation before war broke out?
Oh, I was a commercial traveller, travelling the Welsh valleys and districts of the Welsh valleys.
What did you do during the war?
Oh, I did numerous things during the war. During the war, you were called upon to do anything what the government wanted you to do. Besides trying to do my job, I was also an air raid warden. I was on the guns in Penarth, firing the rockets to keep the planes high or away from Cardiff, and numerous looking after the people. People in Cardiff used to go out, women and children used to go to Cardiff during the night, and left the men in charge. With that, of course, we were looking after any incendiary bombs which might drop. The incendiary bombs dropped every time the planes came over, and it was our duty as wardens to put the incendiary bombs out so they wouldn't catch fire, buildings catching fire. Because if the buildings caught fire, the planes following would drop their bombs because they would see what the target was, because these incendiary bombs were dropped to see what the target was in those days. Therefore, they would drop the heavy bombs which would explode and wreck the buildings.
What's an incendiary bomb?
Incendiary bomb was a bomb that fell, and as soon as it fell, it would burst open into fire. And if it fell on a roof, you had a job to get up the roof. If it fell on the pavement, you could put it out with your sand and your stirrup pump. A stirrup pump was a pump that pumped water onto it, and then you put the sand over it, and that would put it out almost immediately. But they were easy to put out, except when they fell on the roof. If they fell on the roof, you had to have ladders handy. There's one fell in on my roof in Pembroke Road. But fortunately, I had a ladder ready, and I was able to get on the roof and put the sand on it. So that saved my house.
How often did they bomb drop?
Well, every time the planes came over, they were always dropping bombs. That was their object, was to drop the bombs and incendiaries first to light up the target. Light up the target so they could bomb the target which they were after. See, if they wanted to bomb a certain target, the incendiary bombs would come down and would give the German planes up above a better view to see what they were targeting. For instance, when they dropped incendiary bombs on Llandaff Cathedral, that was lit up. Unfortunately for Llandaff Cathedral, these German bombers saw that Llandaff Cathedral lit up. Consequently, they dropped a very, very heavy bomb called a landmine, and it completely destroyed the cathedral, blew the roof off and everything, and made a great big hole in front of the cathedral.
What was daily life like?
Pardon?
What was daily life like?
Daily life? Well, it was very hard for people because, of course, I mean, there was the hassle of trying to get something to eat. Also, the hassle of trying to keep your family intact. When anybody left behind, there's so much so you had to send the children out and the wife out to the country in the night. And we had a caravan, fortunately. We had a caravan up at off the Lancaster Road. And my wife and Jimmy used to go up and go. Used to go out and stop there. Then we got friends with a shopkeeper out in Crosby, and they used to go there. So it was a very, very trying time for everyone.
Been up all night.
Was Cardiff damaged?
Was Cardiff?
Damaged.
damaged a lot. A lot. All around Riverside, the damage around Riverside, it wiped out whole areas. Killed about 200, at least over 200 people around Riverside, around the area of Wells Street and Cardiff Street and all around that area. Over 200 people died in the 1941 bombing. That was on January the 2nd, if I remember correctly. And it wiped out whole areas, and all the houses were damaged, roofs were blown off. A tremendous amount of damage. Because their main German aim was to wipe out all the ports. For instance, Cardiff was an exporting port, and they wanted to knock out Cardiff, and they were very successful to a point in doing so.
What were rations?
All rations were an allocation to each individual, women and children. They each had a ration card. A ration card would be for, say, 2 ounces of butter a week, half a pound of sugar a week perhaps, 1/4 pound of bacon a week, bacon, lard, sweets, 2 ounces of sweets a week. That was what you call ration. They were in a booklet form, and they all had coupons on them, and each coupon had a weekly ration. Say coupon 1 would be for the 1st of January, then you'd go on to coupon 2, say the 8th of January each week, and that was the ration. It meant that everybody was getting the same rations, which was very, very fair. And you had to get your rations from the one particular shop you registered with. You had to register for rations, and that shopkeeper knew how much bacon you could have, how much cheese you could have, how much butter you could have, and so on.
Did you have anything to do with rationing?
Oh, did I have? I was one of the controlling people of rationing. So much so, they stopped me going. I was called up for the Royal Air Force and the Merchant Navy because I was a wireless operator. I trained to be a wireless operator. I was called for the Merchant Navy, and then I was called up for the Royal Air Force. They gave me time to train to be a wireless operator. I passed my examinations, and I was supposed to go to the Royal Air Force. I was ready to go on the Friday morning. On the Friday morning, I had to catch the 12 o'clock train in the Cardiff to go to Padgate. I had a telegram from the War Office or from the Ministry of somewhere, stopped me going, with a letter saying, with a telegram saying the instructions to go to Padgate and for the Royal Air Force were wrongly posted. Please send back your enlistment notice. The Ministry of Food did that because they knew I understood rationing from A to Z, because I did understand it. I was well up in understanding it. That they stopped it. I was able to stop home. My 4 other brothers went to the war, but they wouldn't let me go because of that, because of my experience with rationing.
Did my grandfather go to the war?
You get it? Oh, yes. Yes, did he go to the war? He was also a wireless operator. Your grandfather? Tommy, yes. He trained as a wireless operator in the same school as I did. We went to go to school in town, wireless operating school. Tommy passed out, and they called him up for the Royal Air Force. And he went to Italy. He went abroad to lots of places, and he had a vast experience in war, most of them myself. Way after you, he certainly did. Yes, I'm one of 5 brothers. My 4 other brothers went to the war, except for myself. I'm the only one who didn't go to the war. But my 4 other brothers went to the war. 4 of them fortunately came back. They all but they went through a lot of experience. Uncle George, the eldest brother of all of us, he was at Dunkirk, and they had the instructions, everybody for himself, make for the beaches. So he was in France at the time. He went for the beaches, and they had to get up from the beaches back home. So,
Hi, Rhiannon.
How old were you during the war?
I was 15 and a half, I think, something like that, when the war started. And I lived in Cardiff, the same place as my dad in Pembroke Road. And I joined the Land Army later on because when you were 18, you had to either go in one of the services or go to munitions or munitions factories. But I liked the uniform in the Land Army, and it was the only service you could go into where you didn't have to cut your hair, and that's how silly I was in those days.
You have long hair.
I had long hair, and I wanted to keep it. And I went to the movies one day, and they were showing this this film to get people to join the Land Army, and these girls were walking around all dressed up, throwing feed to the chickens, and it really looked kind of fun, you know. But I never did anything like that when I was in the Land Army.
What did you do in the Land Army?
Well, first of all, they sent me to Hereford, and they put us in this big country house, and there were about 30 of us there from all over the country. And every morning they would post a notice and tell you which farm you were going to go to, and they had a little van, and they'd send you out to the farms. And we did everything on the farms. We hoed vegetables and did haymaking and tried to milk cows and even tried to shear sheep. We tried to do everything. There were no men left on the farms, just some very elderly gentlemen. All the young men had been called up in the war. So even though we weren't much good when we first started, we learned pretty quick. And it was a lot of hard work.
Did you like the work?
Well, did I like the work? Well, at the time, I guess I did. And it was fun working with lots of friends. And that was a long time ago, but some of those people are still my friends today. After 45 years, I'm still in touch with them. So,
did you meet any American GIs?
oh yes, there was a big American camp not far from Hereford where we were. And they used to send a van over on Saturday nights and take us all out to the dances and bring us back. So we got to meet a lot of them. And I remember when they went to, when the invasion started, and we were all in the big Land Army house, seeing the planes going over by the hour, you know, that when France was invaded, and we wondered what was going on that night. I remember that as plain as can be.
What were the GIs doing in Britain?
Well, they came to Britain to help in the war effort, and of course then they left after a while and went over to France and those countries to help fight there.
Did they bring anything to this country that you want to still have?
Did they bring it? Oh, well, they had lots of chocolate and candy, and I remember that they'd say, would you like some nylons? And we used to say, no, but we'd like some soap, because their soap was beautiful, all white and creamy, and the soap in Britain had gotten all kind of white and strange looking, and I was amazed at the difference in the quality of the soap, you know.
Did you meet anyone nice?
Did I meet anyone nice? Yes, I met lots of nice people. So I ended up going to America, where I've lived for the last, 45 years.
So you married an American
Right.
GI?
Yeah.
Which part of America did you?
Well, I went to Wisconsin first of all, and then to Montana. Wisconsin, that's in the middle of the country. And my cousin from Ely also married an American, and she ended up in Wisconsin too. In a country that big, that was amazing that we both ended up in the same state. And for a short time, we both lived in the same town. But I can remember Dad talking about January the 2nd. That night, I was in school, and I'd gone with a girlfriend to her house and was walking home, and the air raid wardens shoved us in an air raid shelter right there by Lander Fields, and we were there all night. And he came to get me And I remember he hit me all the way home. He said, I don't care where you are when that air raid siren starts, but you better be home by the time it finishes. Because all the fathers wanted their
So you were
family home safe.
safe.
Yeah, I was.
Thanks a lot.
You're very welcome. Thank you.